This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Welcome back, Hunters one and all, to another episode of Top 5 Tuesdays, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we will be going over my top 5 picks for the best Elder Dragons in Monster Hunter World. Quick trigger warning. As always, this video is based on opinion and not fact, which means that your opinion might be different from mine, but that's okay. If it is, feel free to leave your top 5 Elder Dragons in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to check it out. Of course, if your opinion does differ from mine, that means it's probably the wrong one. But anyways, let's get down to the list. And starting off our list at the number 5 spot today, we have the Blue Empress herself, Lunastra. Alright, so I have mixed feelings about Lunastra. Let's face it, there aren't that many Elder Dragons in Monster Hunter World, and to make a list of the top 5, number 5 is pretty close to being not on the list, considering there are only 9 or 10 Elder Dragons in the game. So, Lunastra makes the list with a few pros and cons. On the pro side, Lunastra brought a whole new batch of weapons to the game, including weapons that had their own armor skills attached to them. This brought something brand new to Monster Hunter World that we hadn't seen before, and on top of that, look at them. They're freaking awesome. And her armor set isn't too shabby either, both in design and skill set. Both her weapons and armor are in my opinion superior to Teostra's.
Wait, what?
And the fact that she's blue is another one-up on Teostra, because, of course, blue is superior to red.
Well, fuck you then.
On the con side, however, and the reason she's only number 5 on this list, I do not really enjoy fighting her. I mean, she's basically a carbon copy of Teostra, minus a few minor moves, and her supernova is much more annoying in my opinion. The fact that I can't just flash her out of the sky is one thing that makes me extremely upset, and on top of that, when she does the supernova, it's not just a one and done bang. Instead, it's a over time, drain your health extremely quickly kind of thing, and it's the kind of move that some people still don't know how to counter online when I'm playing with randos, and can be a little bit infuriating when it causes you to lose the quest. However, it is a really fun fight for Insect Glaive users, considering her wings are the weak spot, and when you have a group that knows what they're doing, it's fine, it's a good time. So overall, I think the pros outweigh the cons enough for Lunastra to make it to the number 5 spot on this list. And coming in at our number 4 spot on the list today, both Gachalakas and Elder Dragons alike flee in terror when they hear his name. The mascot Elder Dragon of Monster Hunter World, the flagship if you will, the porcupine amongst Elder Dragons, we have Nerja. I feel like Nerja will always have a special place in my heart. I started my Monster Hunter career back in Monster Hunter Tri, however, I was a scrub and couldn't finish the game because I was terrible. Also, it was on the Wii, so, you know, take that the way you will. And I kinda gave up on Monster Hunter until World came out, and I thought I'd give it another go. And boy was I happy I did so, because now I am fully committed to the Monster Hunter World. No pun intended. And Nerja was the very first Elder Dragon that I fought, not including Zora, of course, because, you know, he doesn't really count in my books. But Nerja was a pretty nasty introduction to the world of Elder Dragons. He is a beast. He hits you like a truck when you are not expecting it, especially when it's your first time encountering an Elder Dragon. And I must admit, I had quite the rage-filled time trying to get through that part of the story mode. But when you finally get it, and you finally beat him, the feeling of accomplishment is just so great. I can't even describe it. And the achievement you get, I think it's one will stand and one will fall, something like that, something kind of cheesy like that. It fits perfectly. I was just so happy, and I don't think that I'll ever forget the experience. Personal anecdote aside, he's just an all-around great Elder Dragon. I mean, he's nothing like crazy and out of the ordinary. Like he doesn't have any elemental thing going on. He's not the master of fire or wind or lightning. He's just a tank, really. He feeds on other elder dragons, and it doesn't really get more badass than that. He just uses his extreme strength and the ability to regenerate his armor, and that's it. He's a simple design, but it works perfectly. And it just makes him an all-around great introduction to Elder Dragons for the new player. So there you have it. That's my opinion on Nerja, and that's why I'm putting him at number 4 on the list. And honestly, the only reason he's number 4 is not because he has cons other than maybe all the rage that he gave me before I was able to complete him, but without the rage, you wouldn't have as much satisfaction after defeating him, so I guess you can't really count that as a con. That put aside, even though he doesn't have any cons, I still think that there are 3 more Elder Dragons that are even better and deserve the higher places up on this list. And here we are at the number 3 spot on our list today, and who better to put there than the gold-plated dragon that lives in the caverns of El Dorado, Kulve Taroth. Now, I first got Monster Hunter World just after the first Kulve Taroth quest had been released and come and gone. So it wasn't until the Summer Festival event in the beginning of August that I was first able to play against Kulve Taroth. And boy, what an experience it was. I mean, first of all, you're fighting in a completely new area, separate from the rest of the map in Monster Hunter World. You're not in the Coral Highlands, you're not in the Rotten Vale, you're in a totally new area called the Caverns of El Dorado. And that alone is enough to put her on this list. And on top of that, her design is amazing. The fact that she has some sort of magnetism that draws rare earth minerals to her coat and thus covers her in a totally solid layer of armor completely made of gold. And when she turns molten because she's enraged, what a mechanic. It's not like stupid Levisiot's armor where you have to have him go underground and then wait, and then once he cools, you have to wait for him to go back under to be able to hit him again. No, this is great because you can always hit the armor, but when she's enraged and it becomes molten, you do much more damage. And it is such a satisfying feeling when it breaks away, the way it just, the gold kind of melts and crumbles away after you hit it. It's fantastic. And then she can go back underground and recoat herself in armor for you to break apart again. Plus, the way the fight plays out is completely different than all other fights in the game. The way there's 4 different stages and areas that Kulve can go to, and the first part is just making sure she notices you, basically, because she just walks past you as you hit her, and then when you piss her off enough, she'll figure out that you're actually trying to take her down, and then she'll move into the next area and actually start fighting you, and then when you piss her off enough, she'll melt the wall and she'll move into a totally new area, which, by the way, is so cool to look at when she's just breathing molten gold into the wall and then it gives way. And in the third area, you work on unsheathing her completely so that her entire coat of armor falls off, and then if you can do that, she moves into a totally new area where she's melting the ceiling and molten gold is falling on top of you, and the whole time, you're not even trying to bring her down. You're trying to break her horns. And in the end, if you manage to break her horns, she runs off and you don't actually bring her down. And she is free to grow the horns back and then come back again and again, which then completely makes sense why you keep hunting her again and you keep breaking off the horns one after another. It just makes sense, and it's a totally logical way of having the fight play out. On top of that, her armor set is one of the coolest looking in the game and has some of the best skills, plus she brings a whole new swath of weapons to the table. Weapons that combine with other monsters to make all different types to mix up your sets and do with what you will. It just mixes things up a whole lot more. The only real reason she's not higher up on the list is because, well, RNG. It takes a really long time to get the weapons that you're specifically looking for from her massive treasure trove of possibilities, so leaving that up to RNG means you're gonna have to fight her a lot, and it takes a while. I mean, Most times you're gonna have to do it twice before you actually get the horns off and complete the quest and can actually get rewards, so, you know, it gets a little repetitive and sometimes frustrating when you're not getting what you want, but overall, she's a great monster and brings a ton of new weapons that help mix the game up and create variety. And at our number 2 spot today, for the second best Elder Dragon in Monster Hunter World, we have the Master of Winds, the Spinner of Tornadoes, Kooshala Daora. I honestly love almost everything about Kooshala. And I say almost because, as I'm sure most of you are aware, his tornadoes can get somewhat excessive. But, other than that, I love his design as a monster, and I love how his fight plays out most of the time. Again, most of the time. Sometimes, you know, too many tornadoes, he's got the wind aura around him, which makes it a little hard for me to hit him if I'm using dual blades, but that aside, I'm putting him at number 2 on this list. What I like most about his design as a monster is that he's the most dragon-like out of all the Elder Dragons in the game. His design just conforms to the, you know, picturesque, stereotypical, what you think a dragon would look like if I just told you, picture a dragon. And to me, that's a pro, because I think that there should be at least one stereotypical dragon-esque Elder Dragon in the game. I also like how his thing is to be the master of aerial combat, and basically he spends as much time in the air as possible during the fight. However, this is easily counterable by flashing him out of the sky and making him fight you on the ground where the stakes are more even. And I like how that works. I think that that's an excellent way of designing his fight and making him stand out amongst the other Elder Dragons. His armor set is very helpful if you're trying to boost your sharpness on your weapons. And have you seen his insect glaive? I mean, look at it. It's a giant squid. Even if you're not an insect glaive main, you have to admit that that's an awesome design. I also love his perch at the top of the Elder's Recess that you climb all the way up to, because why shouldn't the Master of Wind and Air be waiting for you at the top of the mountain to finish off the fight? It's just a nice little extra touch, in my opinion. But anyway, this puts Kooshala at my number 2 spot on the list. And now, coming in at our number 1 spot on the list for today, we have the man, the myth, the Kieran! Nah, I'm just fucking with you guys. You can go fuck yourself, Kieran. Coming in at our actual number 1 spot on the list today, we have the Zombie Dragon, and I guess that name should be enough, right? The Eater of Jiro Souls, the Grim Reaper of the Elder Dragon community. You both love and fear him. His name is Val-Hazak. Val-Hazak, to me, has the best design out of any of the other Elder Dragons. His body entirely covered in rotting flesh, and the effluvium surrounding him and just emanating off of him. His fighting style is so much different than the other Elder Dragons in that they're much more aggressive, whereas he simply relies on the effluvium to slowly drain your health so that he can take you out in one fell swoop. He's also the only monster in the entire game that you fight in the very bottom depths of the Vale, which is, in my opinion, the coolest looking part of the Vale. It's got the blue acid that glows and reflects off the wall, giving the whole area the eerie blue color, and then it's got the Dalamadur skeleton with the skull ending at the bottom where you can drop the teeth on Val to knock him over and get in a few free hits. The other thing I love about his fight is when you mount him, he starts flying, and it's the only time that he ever flies. Up until that point, you're wondering, he's got these giant wings, but they're just covered in rotting flesh, they've got holes in them. You don't even know if they're used for anything, if he can actually fly or not, or maybe they're just extra appendages. And then someone gets a mount, and he just takes off into the air, and you're like, oh my goodness, because he just becomes this gigantic flying beast out of nowhere. Not to mention that his armor set is, in my opinion, the best looking in the game. Skills they're okay, usable, at least some of them, but just solely based on looks, I mean, it hits the mark. And his weapons are some of the only weapons in the game to have their very own design, with each one looking completely different from the other, and having a totally different skeleton than all the other weapons in the game. In the end, it's uniqueness that gets Val this #1 spot on the list today. He's got unique weapons and armor, he's got a unique design, he's got a unique fighting style that's more slow and methodical than the other Elder Dragons, he's got a totally unique location to any other monster in the game, and honestly, that's why Val takes the cake for the #1 Elder Dragon in my book. So that's it for my list of the top 5 Elder Dragons in Monster Hunter World. I hope you guys enjoyed the Top 5 Tuesday today. If you did, feel free to smash that like button, and if you're new, please feel free to subscribe because I'm just getting started on this channel, and every subscription is much appreciated. As always, if your list of the top 5 Elder Dragons differs from mine, please leave it in the comments down below so that I can look them over. And if you have any suggestions for future top 5s, also leave them in the comment section down below. But that's all for now. I hope to see you guys in the next one very, very soon. I've been Xalest or Alex, whichever you prefer. Thanks for watching, and so long! Gotcha, bitch!